Day 81. I'm reading If God is Love, page 105, chapter Playing Graciously. The president of a large corporation was once asked how he chose those to hire and promote. He answered, "I take them to a nice restaurant for a dinner and watch how they treat the waiters or waitresses. I observe how they deal with people when they are relaxed. If they treat graciously those who serve them dinner, I know they'll earn the respect and loyalty of those who work with and for them." How we play matters. In recent years, many therapists have learned that watching children play can tell much about their thinking and behavior. If children constantly do violence to their adults, it could suggest they've been the victims of physical abuse. If they refuse to interact with other children or guard their toys jealously, it could indicate serious problems in their home life. Oddly, though we've realized the relevance of examining how children play, we've largely ignored the lessons of adult play. When I was a young adult, I was an extremely competitive person. Since I was never a great athlete, I competed in the academic arena. I measured myself against others by the grades I received and the awards I won. I reveled in beating others in the games of the mind. I, like many, give my verbal assent to the adage, "It's not important whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game." But I seldom played unless the game could have a winner and loser, and I stood a good chance of winning. It wasn't until I accepted God's unconditional love for me and for all others that I recognized how much dualistic religion encouraged such an approach to life. Paul writes, "Do you not know that in a race the runners compete, but only one receives the prize? Run in such a way that you may win it." Unfortunately, Paul's words reflect a common theme in religion. There are a limited number of prizes. This assumption permeates the Bible, from isolates instances on being chosen over the other nations to the Christian assertion that only will be saved. Religion becomes one more arena of competition. Though in religion the game is high stakes, the winners gain paradise, and the losers are damned. It is little wonder those trained who understand the spiritual life as a competition would transfer that same distortion to the rest of life. In dualistic system, there has to be a winner and a loser, someone saved and someone damned. Indeed, often when I speak of universal salvation, someone will ask, "If everyone is going to be saved, what's the point?" The thought that everyone might be a winner is disturbing to those who've been trained that winning the prize is the point. This is a difficult idea to abandon. For many years, I led an annual summer youth program. At the beginning of the program, we placed the teenagers in teams of 4 and ran them through an obstacle course. Before they began, we tied one person's hand in back, tied another's feet together, blindfolded one, and told another to walk backwards. We told them they would be competing with the other teams. What we didn't tell them was the criteria for success. Without fail, each team would hurry through the obstacle course and leave the blindfolded person far behind. Indeed, the others would arrive at the end of the course and only then yell their encouragement or derision at their teammates. They were so completely focused on their success, they were willing to leave someone else behind. When all the teams had finished the course, we'd announce that they'd all lost, that the goal was to arrive at the finish line together. In 10 years of doing this exercise, we never had a team finish together. We've been trained to see one another and competitors rather than teammates. I'm not sure whether self-interest caused us to create competitive religion, or whether dualistic religions encourage self-interest. Regardless, many of us assume our eternal destiny is determined in a cosmic game with winners and losers. We seldom consider the possibility that God wants all of us to cross the finish line together. Our play often reflects our basic assumptions about life. Living graciously requires us to play differently. No longer are we obsessed with winning. We seek those activities that connect us with rather than divide us from one another. Our play no longer seeks to dominate or defeat, but to enhance our relationships with others. Friendly competition is still possible, but the point is to strengthen our friendship. Play becomes one more means of creating a more gracious world. When I was a boy, I had a gym teacher who never allowed us to pick teams or play competitive games. She'd teach us games like Earth Ball, in which everyone was on the same team. She'd gather us together at one end of the gym, place the Earth Ball on top of our outstretched hands, and tell us our goal was to get the ball from one end to the gym to the other without letting it fall to the floor. This was tougher than you think. The ball was so large it took several of us to lift into the air. We'd had to coordinate our movements to bounce it in the air again. The task was made harder because it went against the grain. The most competitive among us would push it forward too hard, and it would hit the floor before we scrambled underneath it. Only when we worked together, moving as a team that included everyone, could we move the Earth Ball from one end of the gym to the other. Naturally, I hated the game. I suspect the game was a parable. We were all one team. We'd all been chosen. No one was left standing against the wall. Our task was to move the earth. A simple task if we worked together as a team, an impossible task if we insisted on competing with each other. We needed everyone, the athletic and the bookworm, and the prom queen and the nerd, and the first and the last. Everyone played, and everyone was a winner. 30 years later, I'm finally allowing the lessons of such games to inform my theology. Life isn't about assuring my own destiny while leaving those with greater handicaps behind. It isn't about different religious teams competing for a single prize. A theology of universal grace is a theology in which everyone eventually wins. Our task is to help the blind and lame to finish line. Just as faith ought to inform our work, so also should it inform our play. Initially, I thought the salvation of all people a theological idea. Eventually, I discovered its application to my family and work. Only recently have I considered these implications for my every behavior. What do I watch on television? What movies do I attend? What games do I play or watch? How do I spend my leisure time? I won't pretend to have to answer for every situation or person. However, I am convinced that any activity that reminds us of our connectedness and inspires our acceptance of one another is an act of grace. Any game or pastime that divides us contributes to the dysfunction of our world. Okay, I should stop here. Please correct me if you can. Thank you.